So one of the things that we do very well here at the South Bay Workforce Board that a lot of workforce boards can assist colleges with is actually assistance in putting together programs and also applying for grants. And we have some really great partnerships with El Camino College and West LA College, and we've been working with them in partnership for a number of years on apprenticeship. And together we have created pre-apprenticeship programs and apprenticeship programs in a number of occupations. And our workforce board is quite experienced now at managing apprenticeship. And so we, in addition to helping the two colleges create apprenticeship programs, we also help them manage the apprenticeship programs. And we can do that in a variety of ways, from the very beginning, like uploading information about participants into Rapids, to assisting with employer engagement, to assisting with different things that have to be managed with participants. So we kind of do it all for them, and they do a lot themselves, but we assist when they need it. And one, there's actually a couple examples I could give. One in particular with El Camino College, and this took us a little while to set up, but Northrop Grumman, which is a large aerospace company here in the South Bay, has been for a long time very interested in the CNC machinist curriculum that is offered at El Camino College. And so what happens is they like to hire their students. So what we did in partnership with El Camino College is we enroll those students, most of them, into a program called Aeroflex, and it's a pre-apprenticeship program. So the college recruits students into that program, and then once they're enrolled, then they also enroll into our pre-apprenticeship program, which consists of 3 steps. It's work readiness training, it's occupational skills training, and it's an internship program, essentially. And it's also designed as career exploration. So while the kids are going to school and in this 8-week program initially, it continues on for a lot longer than that if they want to get a certificate. But the initial piece is tied to the apprenticeship, which lasts a couple months. And what we do is, with the college does some of their own soft skills training, but we also provide it as well. And in the term of them participating in the class, they make the resumes available to us, and then we also connect those resumes to Northrop. We help the kids with additional training in categories that the employer helps to choose. So we work with a company called Tooling U that provides all these online industry-specific classes, and the employer, Northrop, chooses those different classes that tie into exactly the department they'll be working in if they're hired. So that's the second piece of the apprenticeship. And then the third piece is they get an employer experience over at Northrop. And so while this is going on, we are, as a workforce board, evaluating the students for eligibility into what we call WIOA, which is called a Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act grant. And if they are eligible for that, we enroll them. And once the students get close to finishing their course, either as the certificate or just that first 8-week piece, the employer starts interviewing them. And if they hire them, and they do hire most of the class, what happens is they're enrolled into WIOA. They were first qualified to enroll it, and then they're actually enrolled into it. And then the workforce board provides an on-the-job training subsidy grant to the employer, which offsets some of their wages. So essentially the employer gets $2,000 or $3,000 that goes towards their salary during their first 12 weeks of their employment. And then they're hired as an apprentice into their apprenticeship program at Northrop. And when they do that, we also enroll them into the West Los Angeles College scaling apprenticeship grant, which we manage for the college. And then so the employer gets $1,000 from that, 2 or 3,000 from the OJT program, and there's an incentive there, $4,000 or $5,000 that the employer gets for every person that they hire out of that program. And we've been doing that for a few years now. So it's worked out very well for Northrop, and I think to date they've hired 45, 50 people at least that way. And then the other example is the Scaling Apprenticeship Grant, which is a Department of Labor grant. We actually helped West LA College write that grant. We hired a grant writer. We brought all the partners together, and it turned out to be a $12 million grant that's national. And we brought in partners from around the nation to help pull that together. And now West LA College is the applicant, they're the fiscal agent, and the administration, they do the administration of the grant, and then they hired us back as a contractor to manage a lot of the day-to-day stuff and coordinate with all the partners around the country to collect all the data that goes into the system at the DOL to report. And we also manage the narrative reporting that's done quarterly among all the partners. We do that for the school as well. And then we also do this same type of grant management related to apprenticeship when it comes to chancellor grants as well, the CAI grants we call them. So we actually help the schools write those grants in many cases, and then they hire us back as a consultant to help do the employer engagement and participant management and help bring in the numbers and meet the deliverables on the grant. So those between El Camino College and West LA College, those are some examples of how we help them get funding and help them manage the funding and help them meet the deliverables on their grants. So if you would like to get started with a workforce board and get assistance with apprenticeship, it might be the best way to do that is to call our office, explain what you're trying to do, and then we'll bring in the other workforce board partners that are local to you. There's actually 7 in Los Angeles County. We work with all of them. They're all at different stages of apprenticeship, and you could reach out to us. We would help describe and help you understand how to get started, and then we could tie in other workforce boards that are in your local area that could provide some of the assistance that I described earlier, which is how to connect to the WIOA funding, the OJT funding, and these other programs that workforce boards have that could provide additional incentive to the employer partners that you're working with. And then also another great resource that we've developed with a very large consortium is something called the Southern California Apprenticeship Network. And we meet on the second Thursday of every month at 12 noon. And you're welcome to sign on to that call and join that collaboration. And in that discussion, there's lots and lots of partners that are eager to assist each other with helping to build, grow, and expand apprenticeship. So there is lots of potential there to connect with partners that can also help as well. There's 7 workforce boards in Los Angeles County and actually 45 in the state of California. One unique thing about our board is that we're organized as a nonprofit. So we've got the board, which is connected to the state, but they come up with a policy and then the nonprofit implements it. But because we're organized as a nonprofit, we're actually able to work anywhere in California. So it's kind of a nice feature to have because it allows us to work wherever a company does business. So it's kind of a nice tool to utilize if you're working with a company that has locations all over the state. But anyone could certainly reach out to us and we could help you get started. And you could also start as a pilot. You don't have to go all in the beginning. Just test it out, you know. And so if you have an employer or employers or an idea that you think would work good as an apprenticeship, just connect with somebody already doing it, like a workforce board or like the South Bay workforce boards, and we could actually register your standards, or you could use El Camino College or West LA College to register the standards, and then you could use it, and you don't have to be bothered with all the administration of the whole thing, but you could get your feet wet, get started. Once your team understands how to do it, then you can become your own sponsor and run the program yourself. That's one way, easy way to get started. Program itself is not really complicated. It's just an on-the-job training program like any other program we do. What makes it complicated is when you're tying it to the funding and you have a grant and you have to come up with all this information and data for the grant. That's what kind of makes it complicated. But the actual apprenticeship itself, it's just a training plan. There's some on-the-job learning that has to be done. The supervisor at the employer just checks it off as the person goes through the program. Then there's the classroom piece that's done at your school. So it's not really that complicated. It's just another training program. But when you're tying it to the money, that's when it starts to get a little complicated, because you have to do certain things for your reporting that if you're just running an apprenticeship program, there's really not that much to do. One thing you could consider when you are designing an apprenticeship program is to think about creating something that can work all over California, because remember, employers, they're everywhere now. Some of them are global, so they're looking solutions that can work wherever they do business. So when you're designing the classroom piece, you don't have to list the exact title of your class only at your school. List the topics, so that way your program can work anywhere in the state. So if a company in LA has an office in San Francisco and one in Sacramento and all over, they can use your training, your apprenticeship occupation anywhere, and they can get the training locally up at their local college. So if you write the training plan that only works for your school and nowhere else, it's not going to be very flexible. So I just encourage you to think about that classroom piece and making it flexible to work anywhere, and just ensure that those topics are covered. But they could be delivered by any school in the network, you know, any college anywhere that offers those types of courses. You just focus in on the topics and the things that they have to learn under those topics, and then it can work at anywhere in the state. And then it'll be more likely that a company will be able to use your program. And that's what El Camino College does. So they've got a CNC apprenticeship, but they've got the categories very broad and general, and so it can be delivered anywhere in California that offers machinist classes.